All right, so I'm recording now.
All right.
So my opening question, what really grinds my gears is, I hope that we haven't done this one before. Maybe we have, because this is something that's bugged me for a while, and I think that I've wanted to talk about it, but I don't know that I've ever brought it up.
Okay.
Have you ever been to a restaurant or like shopped at a store that's like a locally owned business, and then they charge extra because you used a debit card? So like
Yes.
and it's not a discount
like
for using cash.
Debit card?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Credit or debit card, and then they're like, oh, well, there's a $2 charge, or there's a, some kind of small charge. I hate when people do that. I get why they say that, oh, it's costing me extra. So I get it. I get it, but don't show it to me. Charge a little bit more for everything in the store. I feel like maybe we have talked about this one before, because I'm your reaction to it has got a spring in it in my mind. But I don't know. How do you feel? How do you feel about it? You hate this as well, I guess.
I do not. Yeah, I do not like when they show it to you, because it immediately like hits you like, oh, there's a fee. There's an extra fee. Anytime you get an extra fee that you're not expecting, it always hits you like in a different. And it's
different.
Just like, just put it into the cost somewhere and like obscure it from me so I can't see it. It's there, but I don't know it's there.
Yeah. No, the thing is all right. So here's why I hate it. Do you charge extra because you have toilets? Do you charge extra because you have lights? Do you charge extra because the AC is running in the summertime versus the wintertime? Like if I go and wash my hands in the bathroom, do you charge me a little extra because I used your restroom as in addition to buying something? Like all of these things. Ideas. Yeah, I know. I'm just giving them ideas here. All of these things are overhead costs, just like having a debit card machine in your company.
Yeah,
that's it. That's an overhead cost. How much money would you lose if you didn't take debit? If you only took cash, how big of an impact would that be on your business? It's just a cost of doing business. Just factor it into everything. Don't tell me you're charging me an extra $2.
Yep.
I hate that.
I don't know. I don't know if they're like trying to like get you to use cash. Like they're doing this to be like, if you use cash, you'd get a discount or whatever. Like even when they say that, I don't mind. Like, oh, if you use cash, it's a discount. We give you a discount.
That's the way to handle it. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is the way to handle it is if you use cash, you get a discount.
I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before now.
I think so too. I'm starting to feel like we have.
Well, it doesn't matter. It makes us bad enough that we've talked about it twice.
Exactly. And I know, so recently I went on vacation and we went to a famous donut shop for the area that we were at. And they only took cash, and they had an ATM in the building, and the ATM was broken. And literally every person that went to the ATM, the guy that ran the donut shop would have to go fix the ATM and then go back to selling donuts. Every single person.
Oh my gosh, he fixed it himself?
Well, it was like the front of the ATM was not closed all the way.
Oh.
It was closed enough to latch, but there was some sort of sensor or something that believed the door was open.
The door was open, so it shut off, yeah.
Exactly. So he would have to go like kind of push up against it or put tape around it or something like that to try to trick it into believing. It was closed and latched, but it was some sort of sensor he was trying to trick. And I think that every customer, at least while I was there, had to use the ATM because they only took cash, and nobody carries cash anymore. I mean, it's very rare that I have cash. Basically, anytime I have cash, I give it to my kid because like I never have cash. It's so uncommon. And so I just think that these companies that they're like, oh, I'm going to pass on the cost to my customers. Like, of course you are, but you don't have to show it to me. And don't think that like you're special because you got to use the ATM machine. It's 2025. Everybody everybody's taking debit and credit. Like, geez, it's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, and it's not like everywhere does this. It's only certain places.
No, exactly.
Even among the mom and pop shops, even among them, it still is not all of them.
Yeah, it was big, and believe it or not, it was big in France. But I think people probably carry cash more there. I think it maybe is less unusual there. But yeah, a lot of the local businesses that I went to, they got they got a little upset with me that I had to use. I didn't have any cash. I don't even know how to read their money anyway. So I would have given them money, and I would just had to trust what they gave back to me. I wouldn't have even known what I was paying for. All right, so this episode of Crowbar Kernel Panic, we're going to be talking about the Stop Killing Games. Stop killing games, damn it.
Yeah, what's wrong with people?
Yeah, what's wrong with all you people out there killing games? It's not game season. And we're going to be talking about that. And at the end of the show, I'm going to talk a little bit about some development I've been doing. I don't know how much time we'll have to get into that. And I'm not really prepared to like go all deep into it, but I'll tell you about a new project I'm doing. I have shrunk my projects. You know, on the podcast, a lot of times I've been like, oh, I want to make a survival horror, and it's going to be like Metal Gear, but like a little bit of the, you know.
Yep.
And then I open up Godot, and I make a character controller with a character, and you know, and then I realize, whoo, this is gonna take a long time.
I know exactly that feeling.
This project, I've decided if I'm going to finish something, I've got to do something small. So this is a small game that I think is actually accomplishable. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. But Stop Killing Games. So the funny thing is, I didn't hear anything about this Stop Killing Games initiative until there was recent drama surrounding it. Because the name Pirate Software is a famous streamer, really popular. There was a funny scandal with him involving World of Warcraft hardcore. I remember I put that in the show notes one time, and we were going to talk about it. We ended up not talking about it, but I don't know. He had a really negative reaction towards this whole movement. And I didn't watch any of his videos. I don't know all the details on that, but what I do know is that people's reaction to his reaction like totally blew this Stop Killing Games thing, like completely. Like if he was trying to kill it, he
back in the mainstream.
Yeah, he revived it. Like it was like kind of going nowhere, and then it just blew up all of a sudden, kind of because of this drama and this reaction surrounding it. So I started looking into it a little bit more, and I can tell you right now, I'm not going to be a authority on what the movement or the signatures or petition or whatever it is. I can't tell you all the specific details about what they're asking for, but I get the concept, and it's very close. It hits very close to home for you and I, because coming from the Linux community, the open source community, this is a topic that we have discussed even without any pirate software drama surrounding it. But I asked ChatGPT to give me a quick little synopsis of what it is. So I want to preface this by saying that this was written by AI. So AI
was involved.
Yeah, we'll see. It may be a little fishy. We'll see. So it says, what is Stop Killing Games? The origin of the movement started by consumer advocates, gained traction with YouTuber Ross Scott, who's from Accursed Farms. And the motivation is frustration over online only games or single player titles being shut down permanently. Now, it's not just single player titles. That was part of the drama surrounding the Pirate Software's take on it.
Annoying piece, though.
Yeah, it's got to be the most annoying piece. And that's what I thought would be interesting is like, let's take different categories of games and then try to decide how could they accomplish this goal. What would be the best way to sort of do, like, what do we want to see happen in all these scenarios? So the example they give is The Crew by Ubisoft. It was delisted on the distributing platform and made unplayable even for people who bought it. There's also Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Battlefield 1943, and other EA titles. Of course, it would be EA at the center of this drama.
EA's never done anything wrong. What are you talking about?
There's no brand that like I don't know how EA ever makes a comeback on their branding. Babylon's Fall, Knockout City, Rumbleverse. I don't recognize any of those games, but they were live service games with short lifespans. And then also, ChatGPT is suggesting that we consider an indie angle and smaller games with DRM dependencies that become unplayable when devs/publishers vanish.
Oh, that's something I didn't consider, but yeah, I agree. That one actually that one makes me even more annoyed than the other ones. To be honest, I'm actually dealing with that right now.
Oh, really? You have a live example of a game that's being killed.
Not killed, but just like drug along.
Just drugged.
Well, if you want me to give the example, it's frick, what is it? I just had it here.
Oh, the one you were talking about.
Hunt. Yeah, prehistoric hunt. That's the one. Now, I will say that there was an update recently on the 7th, but they've been talking about this big update they're doing, and it's been like 6 months now since they've had an update. And they did this little tiny mini update where it's just bug fixes. And I'm like, how long is it taking you to do this update? And I've been telling them every single time they release a patch note, I've been going in there, leaving a comment saying, hey, I understand it's a lot of work to do this, but like, just give us a little pieces, little like, updates here and there. Don't just like try to do this whole big thing all at once. And like, I'm glad that they gave the little update they did. But the thing is like, I just want a little bit of something every month or like every 3 months. And they were the reason why this is not like far-fetched is because they were doing this before. Every month they'd put out an update and then they just stopped. And when they stopped, I was very concerned because I was like, oh man, here we go. Another game dead because the devs just abandoned it or whatever. So but now that they gave a little update, it was, I feel a little better about it now, but still it could have been dead.
So this sounds like a game that's like still in development. It's not officially released.
Yes, it is technically still in development. Yes.
Yeah. So I have a lot of experience with this because I played partially for the show and then partially just because I'm like a boomer MMO player, but like I play a lot of the Kickstarter MMOs that like never really officially launched. They all come out in early access and then they make very little progress over years and years. This is kind of the other end of the same conversation. So typically the Stop Killing Games conversation focuses on like the major companies that are basically selling you a $70 game. And if that game is not successful, they want to terminate life support on it as soon as possible so that they can move on to the next thing. But I think it's also true. The other end of the coin is indie developers that basically never finish releasing a game because they are just constantly iterating on it. And it's like perfection is the enemy of good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they never get to a completed state because they just keep adding to their vision.
And it's not even that they keep adding to their vision more so. I think it's because these games are one-time purchases and only so many people buy these niche games like that. Yeah. So I believe that they start running out of funds. And then they can't move on. So I'm like, I wouldn't even mind paying like, $5 a month to like keep this game going because I really like this game. And it's got an online what do you want to call aspect to it. And all that. So they need money to keep their servers going. So I have no idea where they're getting their funding from at all, because I guarantee you it's not from the sales of the game because it's not that expensive, and also it can't be that many people playing it.
Yeah. So let's try to take like an example. I think the easiest example to cover, what place to begin, is single player games and DRM.
Yeah. Yep.
So I remember the first game I remember having this like always online feature was StarCraft 2, and how even the single player mode you had to have an internet connection. Right. And that was like the first game that I ever had where it was like, if I can't connect to the internet, I can't play this game that I bought. And I remember at the time, I'm not going to lie, at the time, I would go to LAN parties, and at the LAN party, we would all share like, oh, I got this game, and you can use my copy to install it on your computer, and all you got to do is I remember there was a few games that like basically you could do the installation all the way through, and then whenever it got to the end, it would check your license key, and then if you didn't have a license key, it would basically just delete everything it just did. And so what we would do is you do the install, and then before you put in the license key, you copy that folder to a new place on your disk, and so that way whenever you say I don't have a license key and it deletes everything, you still had a copy of the game on your disk. There was all kinds of like trickery. You could get like cracks and stuff. People would download cracks to crack certain games. And so the first time I saw this was in the era of that happening. And so in a way, I kind of understood it because I was like, okay, they know that if I go to a LAN party with 12 people there, and one person has a copy of StarCraft 2, we're all going to install their copy on our PC. And so this is their way. Yeah, this is their way of keeping us from doing that. So that was like, I kind of understood the reasoning behind them trying to protect that.
I remember those days. Halo was the game that I remember that from.
Oh yeah. Yeah. See, I always played Halo on Xbox. So I didn't really have a way to steal it, or that I wasn't smart enough to anyway.
Yeah. My copy of Halo, I still have the disc for it. It's been installed on many computers.
So I think originally the idea was to crack that. And then there's also like, well, it moves into a different category, but there's also like anti-cheat. So like Counter-Strike, or to some degree, probably even StarCraft 2, if you're playing in the multiplayer mode, there's probably a mechanism for making sure that you're not cheating playing against other players competitively.
Right.
And so I understand why these online services are required for those types of protections. But the downside is you're really not buying a game at that point. You're buying the ability to play the game. Yep. And if that service ever stops running, you lose the ability to play the game. And so this is where this initiative steps in to try to, I think their goal is to actually have some sort of regulation where a company has to have some sort of sunsetting model, so that while their game is active, they can have this sort of service.
Right.
But in the event that they decide we're no longer going to support this game and we just want to take it off of our stores, we don't want anything to do with it, we're moving on from that product. And the Half-Life, this is Half-Life 3. There's never going to be a Half-Life 3. So Half-Life 2 and Half-Life, there needs to be some sort of way for them to turn off that service, allow you to download a patch or some kind of, tool where you can then make the game playable even without.
Yeah, like tricks it into thinking the service is running, but it's not. Something like that.
And from my perspective, I would much rather support a developer that isn't using some sort of service like this. Yes. But I don't think that there should be a government regulation saying that they're not allowed to use a service like this. But at the same time, I understand the need for something like a sunsetting mechanism where if you are going to use a service like this, should a government mechanism, some sort of government agency step in and say, in order for you to still provide the service you promised to your customers, you have to have a patch or some kind of way for them to play the game without this service running, this online service running. And maybe there's a time period, maybe within the first 8 to 10 years, if you decide to kill the game, you need to have this, then, because there's one thing to saying what ought to be versus saying what the government should have a place to say
exactly,
what has to be.
Right.
Ought to be versus has to be, I guess.
Yes. And I mean, the one thing I wouldn't want to happen is the government come in and say like, oh, you have to somehow pay for this service for the rest of the time the game is available. I don't see how they could possibly do that. So the way I don't
see how you could force a company to do that.
Right. So the way you worded it with them releasing some sort of patch that allows the game to run without the service, or tricks the game into thinking the service is running. That is definitely I would say that's the second best thing they could do. The other thing is they could just open source the game and freaking just let the community have it.
So I know. So I think this is where it gets different whenever you're talking about single player game versus a online game like an MMO or a Call of Duty or Counter-Strike, something like that. I think this is kind of the next tier of complexity. So with single player game, I wish the companies just didn't even need to do any kind of anti-cheat or anti-piracy or DRM. I just wish that didn't exist. I don't think the government should make it so that it's not allowed to exist. I just don't think, I wish that it didn't, and I would rather support companies that didn't do that. But then also, I think that it may not be that outrageous of an idea to have a regulation where that says, well, if you are a company that releases a game and you promise your consumers that it's going to exist, it's going to be available for X number of years, well, at the end of that, you need to have some sort of sunsetting where you can make it available to everyone. I think that's a reasonable, way to handle it.
I agree.
And then the next tier of complexity is online only game. Like there is no single player. You're just here to pawn noobs and to kill dragons and to play with other people, and it requires online all the time. Right. This adds and I don't even want to get into like expansions and all that kind of stuff. That's the next layer. So we'll go there next. But just assuming that this game is online all the time and it's never going to change. Right. You're going to play the same game forever. It's WoW Classic forever, right? So
forever.
I think that they should have some sort of, there should be an industry standard. Basically, everyone in the industry should kind of agree on what the minimum viable support level is. So they say if we release any online game, it's going to be supported for at least X number of years. And that's something that could be government regulated. It could be industry regulated. That's something that could be, it should be an industry. Like basically everyone in the industry should kind of like agree on like, this is kind of where we believe that it sits.
Right.
And then outside of that, so here's where it gets a little hairy. Let's say you and I run, let's see, what's a mock on World of Warcraft? Crowbars and Dragons Craft. The Linux gaming and nerdy game dev MMO. And in Crowbar Craft, I can't remember what I said, so I'm just gonna call it Crowbar Craft.
Actually sounds pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, this is the new game project. In Crowbar Craft, it's an online world. You get to meet up with your friends, go kill dragons, and we decide that we can't afford to right now. We can't afford to keep the servers up anymore.
Right.
Unfortunately, we've fallen on hard times. The gaming industry's not doing well. No one's playing Crowbar Craft, and so we decide we are going to sunset the servers. And we can either we can say, some other company can come buy the property from us and they can pick it up and they can run the servers. Or we can say we're going to open source it and we're just going to let the fans make their own servers, which you and I, that's what we would do. That's
exactly what I do.
That is,
because then I play on the fan servers.
I know. Cause I'd rather play on fan servers than official servers anyway. So but not everybody would have that same take on it.
No.
And then also, what if we're planning, we know that we're struggling right now, but we know what we did wrong. And we want another bite at the apple. We want to take another crack at it with Crowbar Craft 2. And so we want to protect our intellectual property. We don't want to go off and make Crowbar Craft 2, and then the fans make a way better Crowbar Craft, and we can't keep up with it. And again, because we're a small company. We're not Blizzard here, you know.
Yep.
This is Crowbar Kernel Panic. We have 260 subscriber money. We don't have a lot. and so we're worried that like, well, we got to protect our intellectual property, but at the same time we want to still meet our agreement of keeping the game available to the subscribers. So what's the right scenario? What's the right case for that, do you think?
Oh man, yeah, that's a tougher one, definitely.
I think
I don't even know. I don't know how you do it, really.
Yeah,
to be honest,
this is where I think it gets tough. I think this is where it gets more difficult. The more layers you get to it. So
yeah,
I think my initial take is, if a game is dead and gone, just let the fans have it. I think that if Blizzard knew they were never going to go back to classic World of Warcraft, and it was just, they're just sunsetting that as a product, and they know they're moving on to other things, it's not even going to remotely be the same. They should just allow Turtle WoW to officially be the new classic WoW. You know, like they should just let the fans take it and do what they want with it. The other option is, I think in a world where EA and Blizzard and all these big companies are required to have a minimum viable product for their customers, I think we would see a lot of these little small, I think we'd see a lot of little small companies come up that would basically purchase these games at a very low cost, because Blizzard's just trying to sell it so that they meet their requirement. And there'd be all these like management companies that would basically pick them up and then
just try to make money off of whatever they could.
Yeah, and they'd fill them with cash shops and all kinds of all kinds of stuff.
Pay to win.
And Blizzard would be happy because they got out of their agreement of having to keep the game running. This other company, they would be happy because they'd be like some Chinese company that's running 100 of these dead MMOs, and they're just charging $9.99 for like Garage Hellscream skins or something. And so I mean, and the fans would all be like, oh yeah, that game got sunset, so basically it doesn't exist anymore. So I don't even think you would even get like the real, like really that's not a viable, like, because it's not the same product anymore, because this other company would take it and like turn it into something completely unrecognizable. But I think that would be I kind of think that would be the reality. Like, I mean, that's the scenario. That's how capitalism like wins out. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would be the actual reality of it.
That's the only way I see it actually going down, because that's the only way, quote unquote, everybody wins except for the players.
Yeah, which cares about them. Now, I think ideally what you'd want to see happen would be a community would take over the game that would care about it and foster it. And the good game companies would see that, and they would say, well, we want our product to be in the hands of those people, not in the hands of these other people. But that wouldn't be, EA wouldn't make that decision. You know what I mean? That wouldn't be the decision that every company would make. And so you'd run that risk. And so I don't know. I also hear people talk about like, well, what if Final Fantasy 14 were to go under this regulation? Would it be that you would get like a single player version of Final Fantasy 14? I don't think that. Work? Well, today it wouldn't know, but they'd have to make us like a single.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They'd have to modify it so that it could be.
Right. That's the other speculation.
That wouldn't happen.
I don't think that would happen. That would take so much work that they would
just something that's going to be dead.
Yeah.
They don't care about that. Unfortunately.
Well, the argument is that the government would make them care about that because they.
Oh, you're saying the government angle. Okay, I got you.
I don't think that would be true. I think the first scenario I pointed out would probably be the real way it would work.
So, unless the law was worded so specifically, exactly what happened. They would put the bare minimum work into this. This thing would be like such a buggy mess it would just be barely working. Unless, of course, the government made sure that, it has to be in a, this type of a state, some state it needs to be in.
I think so. I most relate this to World of Warcraft just because that's what I know the best. But
Yeah.
I think that what they could do is, if I were Blizzard and I knew that I was like sunsetting a product like Classic WoW, and we were moving on to something else, World of Warcraft 2, or let's take Jagex. Jagex is a better, because they actually have two products. Okay. So like if Jagex said we're gonna get rid of old school RuneScape and we're only gonna do RuneScape 3,
yep.
and we know we're gonna do that. I think if I were Jagex, what I would do is I would say we are going to make the server client for old school RuneScape available on our website for a small licensing purchase. Oh. And part of that licensing purchase agreement would be that we still own all of the intellectual property and everything related to the world of RuneScape. You can take this server, you can run your own server, and you can change the way you get experience. You can change everything you want to about the game.
Right.
But the world and the properties of this product, we still own, and you're not allowed to change any of that. If you do, you do it at your own. You do it at your own risk. You're no longer covered by our license, and that way, Jagex gets a way to make money off of selling this license. They also get out of their contract of having to make the game available. Again, right. if that were a real thing, it's not a real thing. And they're still leaving the door open to, if they ever want to go back and do the old school RuneScape thing again, they still can go back and do that.
Right.
I think that is another possibility.
That's probably the best of all the possibilities that I could think of.
Yeah.
The only problem with that I could even see is that who's going to maintain the code on that? Like, are you saying they can do whatever?
They would have to lock it. It basically would be like what private servers are to WoW and to old school RuneScape. Right. There's private servers there too. It would basically be giving the private servers a chance to be legal. And there would still be illegal private servers, because there's still going to be people that are not going to want to buy the license, and they're going to still do it, and they're doing it at the same risk they are today. There's nothing different. Turtle WoW might be like, you know what, we're renegades. We're going to stick to doing it illegally. We're not interested. But yet, I don't know, what's another Project Epoch or whatever, one of the other WoW servers, they may actually buy the license and then still do the game they want to. They're only buying the license to use the existing code from Jagex, and Jagex isn't supporting them in any way, and any modifications or changes they do is all on them. That's the way
so
I
you're
would
saying
see it working.
They get the code and they can change it any way they want. Like they can maintain it, they can keep it up to date so that it keeps working and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they can't, obviously they can't open source it, they can't share it, they can't any of that stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, the only reason why companies like this even care about private servers is because they're scared that either the private server is going to become a competitive product to their product, which in the scenario that we're discussing, I don't think that's as big of an issue, because in this scenario, they've decided not to continue the product. It's not that they're selling their license for old school RuneScape and they're also still doing old school RuneScape. It's in a world where they decide they're shutting down all of old school RuneScape. They're moving on to only new school RuneScape. And if you want to run a private server, you can buy a license to do so. And so I think that there's not really a product competition there, unless their fear is they could have the fear though that, these private old school RuneScape servers are going to be so good, no one's going to want to play our modern RuneScape servers.
Yeah.
So that could also be.
I can see that argument. Yeah. I don't know. See, okay, so specifically with RuneScape, there's like two camps. Obviously, there's the RuneScape 3 and old school, and most of the time, people who play old school don't play RuneScape 3, and vice versa.
Yeah,
because they just don't
Warcraft.
like it because it's so different. It's so different. So like I don't think that that's like a problem. What you're describing. I think that it's just so separated that it's not going to be a problem.
I agree with you. But I don't know that if I were like a corporate suit, I would agree with you. I think the people
that's
that
the
are
thing. They don't understand. Like they don't get like we get.
Yeah, no. If I were the man, I don't think I'd get you, bro.
If I was the man, I wouldn't even care about that. I'd be looking at the spreadsheets and the numbers.
I think the selling the license thing is the most interesting solution, but
I actually like that idea a lot because it's like a win-win for everybody.
It's still better than the nightmare alternative that I gave at the beginning, because in the nightmare alternative, Jagex still has to compete with Chinese gotcha Jagex, or Chinese gotcha old school RuneScape. There's still a competing product. So I guess between those two scenarios, the better is the latter.
Exactly.
And then some companies may decide. Some companies may decide to. I'm trying to get my. Some companies may decide to just give it away for free and make it an open source license.
Right.
But so let's move up a tier. We solved that problem. Let's move up one more tier.
Solved.
The next tier up is expansions.
Okay.
World of Warcraft came out, then Burning Crusade came out, and theoretically Burning Crusade was not that big of a change. It added a new area far away from the original game, but the original game still existed.
Right.
And then Wrath of the Lich King, same thing. But then Cataclysm came out and basically changed everything in World of Warcraft. A whole new map, whole new everything. Right. Same thing in the world of old school RuneScape. My understanding is the combat completely changed with RuneScape 3.
Yes.
And that old version of the game
changed.
Yeah, it became inaccessible, right? Like, because it was like it was an expansion on expansion on expansion. Yep. And that was the whole reason.
Instance, when you moved your character from old school to the new RuneScape, you can't move it back. Like it was a done deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
In World of Warcraft, you don't even move the whole world changes whether you like it or not. And there's no other place to go. Yeah.
Jeez.
That's the way WoW worked forever until recently when they started doing the classic servers. Right. Should a company like Blizzard be required to offer their customers the previous versions of their expansion cycles? Arguably, I haven't decided where I stand on this yet. I'll figure it out as we talk about it. But I can kind of play both sides. Arguably, whenever I purchased the original classic World of Warcraft, Burning Crusade didn't exist yet. So when that's the game I was expecting to purchase. And so are they required to maintain that for some period of time? The other side of the coin is when you buy an MMO, you know what you're buying into. It's going to change over time.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Cause like, so with old school or with RuneScape 3, for instance, it kind of gradually changed. It wasn't like this huge, like, oh, everything changed all of a sudden. It was more of like, oh yeah, we redid the combat, for instance, and then it was, oh, we redid the way health works and the way the magic works and that kind of thing. And then to the point where it got so far that they're just like, all right, we're just changing everything in the background, and you need to move your stuff over or you won't be able to play. And that was how it went. And then moved the stuff over, and then freaking they made old school RuneScape. They're like, there's enough want there to be viable to run our old school RuneScape servers. So they did, and then you got to make a new character. And I'm like, every time, okay, this is my peeve with that. Every time I try to play RuneScape 3, I'm just like, why am I here? I just want to play old school RuneScape. And then I just go back to old school RuneScape and I just keep playing that, even though my character is not like my level 90 something character that I have now with all my stats almost to 99, you know, well, that's the highest level you can go in RuneScape. Even with all that, I still go back to old school because I'm so used to that and I like the way that is, regardless of the graphics.
I'm the same. I'm the same way with World of Warcraft. It's the game's changed so much, and I kept up when I was younger, I played every expansion and I kept up with the changes in the game. And so it made sense to me, but I missed a few expansions, in my adult years. I think I was an adult whenever the first World of Warcraft came out, actually, but just barely. But in my actual grown-up years, I guess, in my marriage years, I missed a few expansions. And then now when I log into modern World of Warcraft, it's like I can't catch up. I can't catch up to this. I don't know. There's so many new systems. There's so many, like, I don't even know how to get places. Like, it's just completely. And so I always go back to classic World of Warcraft, and they have different tiers of classic. And so I like playing the different tiers of classic. And now they're even talking about, there's rumors of a classic plus. They're doing surveys from people, like, to see what would you like to see if we did a new version of classic.
Interesting.
So yeah, so there could be good stuff coming in the future, but should they be required to keep some sort of server up? So this kind of goes back to, do you know about all the drama around? I forget the name of the Classic Plus. There was a Classic Plus server that was fan made, and Blizzard had always, like, played a backseat and never really, like, tried to shut these things down, really.
Right.
And then there was one that got, like, extremely popular.
I think
fans,
you mentioned this before.
We probably talked about when this was happening, because I think it happened within maybe just before or in the early days of doing the podcast. And the fans were like wanting Blizzard to do a classic, and Blizzard, they kept saying, like, no, you don't want that. You think you want that, but you don't want. There's a famous quote.
Yep, I remember this.
Yeah, there's a famous quote where one of the guys is like, oh, you think you want that, but you don't want that. And back
that goes
then,
over well.
So back then the argument was, well, if you're never planning to do it, then why try to shut down this fan server version? You know?
Yeah.
Like, if this is something you're really never planning to touch, then, like, don't shut someone else down doing it. But I think it went back to that problem of, well, we don't want a competitor to our product, and we feel like we're losing so many people to that. And so their solution to that was, I think they lawyered up and got them to shut the server down. I'm not 100% sure. I know that after they shut the server down, they invited the people to Blizzard headquarters and they spoke to them. And then, like, a year after that, they actually launched the classic WoW. So, and they should have offered in a perfect world, if this were a movie, all those people would have gotten jobs to run the new classic servers.
I mean,
wow.
That's exactly.
They're probably the best people in the world to do it, right?
Exactly.
They were doing it literally for free just because they loved it so much. Like you couldn't get better stewards of, but anyway,
the right people never get chosen.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, what was I saying? I guess they decided, well, our best way to combat this is if we can't beat them, join them. And so they actually did make classic servers, and now they've made like 4 different versions of classic servers. Well, it's turned into a huge thing. I'm sure it was a huge boon in their industry.
And the thing, this is probably how it went down. They were probably like, oh, this thing is fine. There's nothing to worry about for years and years or however long it was up. And then all of a sudden it started booming in popularity, and they're like, we can make some money off of this.
And let's declining.
Crush them. Let's crush them and open our own so that we're the only ones in town.
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
No, I'm not saying they're a monopoly because it's their own product, so they can do whatever they want with it. But I'm just saying, like, they wanted that so that they can make the money.
I don't know. Again, what ought to happen versus what has to happen. What ought to happen is if Blizzard or any other company is not planning to run a version of their server and the fans are willing to do it, they should just let them do it. That's what ought to happen. There's Final Fantasy 11 still exists. It hasn't been completely, you can still get it on Steam. But it's like the server is like completely dead from what I understand. And there's a fan made server called Horizon 11 or oh god, I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I can't remember. And I hear it's pretty popular. And so it's a scenario like that where like it's existing alongside the original product, but the original product is so old now and the community has basically all moved over to this fan made server instead of the original. Right. But I think that if a company's not planning, but Square is, and that's funny, that game came out, it was called Square Soft, but if Square Enix is never planning to touch Final Fantasy 11 again, they have no reason. I don't even know why they're still selling it on Steam. They should just let them take over the product and like
there should almost be like somewhere where they like once you sunset a game, you can't re-enable it. Like if you choose to sunset a game, you can't go back and reopen that. Like you have to, like, that's it. Like, I don't know. But then the problem with that is then if they don't allow the community to take it, then it's really dead. Like it's totally dead by law. Like they couldn't reopen it. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's the only way I can kind of see them like allowing, like if they allow the community to take it and then they did that and then they couldn't reopen it themselves, then that would be kind of like a better scenario because then the community ones can't be shut down because they wouldn't have no reason to shut them down.
I love community driven private servers.
Agreed. Anything that's community is always better.
I have a World of Warcraft subscription and I still play on Turtle WoW. Like I like it's not that I'm just like a cheapskate and trying to avoid paying Blizzard. I love the idea that fans loved this product so much that they wanted to expand on it and make their own. I've played games
flaws and they wanted to improve it.
Yeah, and I've played games that like I've never been interested in before, but I just heard about a community starting this fan made project, and I just wanted to see it and and that was my introduction to it. There was a game called Vanguard, I think is what it's called, but it was some old MMO that didn't survive the early days of World of Warcraft. It was one of the games that like was destroyed in the creation of World of Warcraft.
Yep.
And but fans loved it so much. I never played it originally. I never even heard about it. But fans loved it so much that they created their own private server of it and people were joining it and playing it. And I just thought there must be something special here. If they loved it so much to do this, I should give it a shot and learn more about it. And I love those types of projects. And I think that I wish that the gaming industry more fostered a community for that sort of thing instead of the opposite. Yep. I understand protecting intellectual property. I understand why they do what they do.
Right. Yeah.
But it just, I wish we lived in a world where that was more encouraged than it was discouraged, I guess.
Yeah. It wasn't needed so much to guard your intellectual property, like tooth and nail,
And also people are not stupid. They understand the difference between the two, like, World of Warcraft was not losing subscribers because of this vanilla plus server that was up. They were losing subscribers because of issues they had with their game that their fans was not resonating with, and they were migrating to this other. You know what I mean? Like it's not like because vanilla plus server existed and then people started leaving WoW. You know what I mean?
It's like, how about they look at vanilla plus server and say, okay, they're doing this, this, and this. Why don't we do that?
Yeah, I know, and it's their intellectual property, so they're allowed. This is a scenario where they're allowed to steal their ideas.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's that simple. Like just do that, and you'll get the people back.
Yeah. All right. So let's do some questions that were suggested also by ChatGPT. So, one is, do you really own your games, or are you just like renting a service to play the game?
Okay. Well, so this is one I've always fought with because so with Steam. Now this is going back a ways. When they first came out, everyone was worried. Well, I'm not sure if it was when they first came out or very soon after, but everyone was worried about their games being able to be shut down because if you don't have Steam, you can't play the game because you need online service at least for just to initialize the game, and then I think it's after a year you have to reinitialize the game or something like that. I don't know.
I didn't even know that. Yeah.
No, don't quote me on that.
I was an early Steam adopter, and I do remember. I remember people being like, "Oh, don't buy games on Steam. You never really own them if you do that." And
exactly.
My argument was always the offline feature. I can download in offline mode.
Right.
But
now the only reason I even found out anything about that is my friend. He hasn't had. Well, he has internet now, but he didn't have internet for years. So what he would do is send me his computer, and I would load it up with games, start them all, and then put it into offline mode and just be done, and then send it back to him.
Wow.
And every so often his games would just stop working. So I don't know.
To do it again.
Yeah, and then we'd have to do it again. So like I don't know what was up with that, but like it was pretty frequently that would happen. And sometimes he would go to the freaking library and hook his computer up and like it was a whole thing. But anyway, so like when they first started this, Steam was like, well, if we ever go under or whatever, we'll make sure that Steam games can be played even though Steam is not
yeah, that's what they said originally.
Yeah. And you know what, I've heard actually rumors now, or maybe it's the truth, that was never really said. Like it was more of like an almost someone took it the wrong way, kind of like how Microsoft said Windows 10 was going to be forever, but they took it the wrong way, yada yada. So I never went back and looked that up, but like that got me a little concerned because I have a lot of games on Steam and all that, but at the same time, like I'm not that worried about it because Steam's doing so well right now. Like maybe
nothing's gonna happen to Steam.
Years I'd be worried about it.
Yeah,
but
no, I'm not worried about anything happening to Steam. But if a game, I think if you bought a game and then they remove it from the Steam store, even if you have it saved in offline mode, I think it depends on the game whether it would still work for you.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I actually never had a game removed from Steam. So like I never had that experience. I don't know how that would work.
I don't know that I have either. I don't know if I have or not. I definitely have games in my Steam library that have dead services though.
Yes, I do too. I have games that have dead services that you can download the game, you can start it up, but it will start.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what reason why I like to buy my games. Like I'll first look at GOG. That's the first place I look for any game. If it's not on there, then I'll buy it on Steam.
Why do you prefer that over Steam?
Because you can download the binary and you can just install it like straight up, and you don't have to have any service running at all. I have all my games from GOG backed up on my server so that if I ever had to, I could just install them on there. And they had this whole initiative recently that they said, oh well, even if there's a game that's stopped, they stop maintaining it, we'll maintain it. We'll maintain those games that won't play on modern hardware. Now, for us Linux users, or the ones who like to use Linux, it is not that important because we can use the Proton layer and we can kind of like set it to be wherever we want. So like I think for the most part, games will always work for us. But like if you're a Windows user and you want to use a game that's like Windows 7 and it won't work on Windows 11 now, you're kind of toast unless someone updates it.
I didn't realize Godot games had a.
They said it. Again, it's a thing where they said it, and who knows? I know they actually said that, but who knows if they're actually going to be able to do that, long term.
I'm impressed that they even have that's even their goal.
Yeah, they're all about that. Like actually the CD Projekt Red. Now, I'm not sure if they sold it recently, but they were owned by CD Projekt Red, GOG, for I think they created it, if I remember correctly. Now I don't know if they still own it. I can't remember if they sold it or something. Something weird happened recently, I think, that people were talking about, but I don't remember. But they were the ones that started the whole initiative, and I really like them because they've always had good games. Like even though Cyberpunk, was kind of a mess when it first came out, they fixed it. It's not like a lot of these games where they never fix them, and it's just like, oh well, that's what you get.
Yeah. So I think that. So here's the thing: when I think about games, I feel like I'm buying the game and I'm owning the game in the same way I would if I owned a disc of that game. But
right,
as we all know, even owning a disc of a game doesn't really mean you're still going to have to connect to some online service. And so in a way, I guess I kind of expect that. Again, this is hard for me because I play a lot of MMOs. If I bought a single player game, I think I would expect that single player game to work forever, basically.
Forever. Yep. Steam or no Steam.
I expect an MMO to change. I want it to change. I don't want to play the same game for 20 years. Like I want it to change over the course of 20 years. But yeah, so I guess I've never really thought about it. But I did have a similar conversation to this with my brother-in-law. Whenever I visited in Texas, he's the guy that's got the big, he's got the huge server of TV shows and movies and stuff. On his NAS. And we were talking about DRM and why he rips movies and all this kind of stuff. And everybody that has like a 2 terabyte NAS of a bunch of TV shows always has some ethical reason that they rip all these TV shows, right? It's not because they just want the TV shows, they don't want to pay for them. And I remember he was saying that like, yeah, I mean, not that I definitely have done this in the past. I'm not saying that I haven't. But I didn't pretend like it was something else. I wanted to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm and I didn't want to pay for HBO, so I downloaded it. And that's what it was. I'm not fighting for I'm not fighting against DRM. I'm fighting against my wallet. And I remember we had a conversation. He was like, well, it's not right that if you buy a movie on Amazon, they can just take that away from you at any time. Yep. And I said, I agree. I think that if you buy something like on a service, you should have the ability to download that thing, like download a copy. No matter where it's from. Yep. Yeah. And I think free. Yeah, and I think Amazon has it where you can download it, but you still have to be connected to them to use it. Like if you're downloading it for your kid or something, they can
take it off. If you download it, Apple's the same way. If you download it and they take it off, it's no longer there. Yeah. It'll show up in your library, but it will not play.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to convince one of my coworkers to start like getting your stuff some other method because I'm like, dude, all your Apple stuff that you have, that's going to be gone.
So I have a question for you and for anyone listening. What's the DRM free equivalent to Amazon where you can buy a movie? I don't want to download it illegally. I want to buy the movie, right. And I want to own it on an online library, but also I want the ability to download it DRM free. I don't think that exists. I don't know that exists anywhere.
That exists. The best thing you can do, the absolute best thing you can do with that is literally buy the disc and just rip it off the disc and strip the DRM off. That is literally the best way to do it.
That's so archaic, and that's why people like my brother-in-law download it another way because it's the only way he can get a real copy of it.
If you have the freaking CD, you should be able to download it off the internet no matter where it's from. Like, I like that irks me so badly that I can't stand that. I enough.
Yeah, I definitely think that you should have to have some sort of way to download it. Now that could be I think that would be a completely justifiable government regulation. If it doesn't exist, it might already exist. If Amazon were going out of business, they should have to make it available for you to download anything you've purchased from them before they remove it from their service. I think that should be required. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Not only if they're going out of service, if they just know they're going to take this movie off, they're removing it from their program. You should get a notification that like you've got 60 days to download this movie before it gets off of our library.
Here's the problem with that is
what's that?
It's fine if they're going out of business. That totally works. But typically when they're taking a movie off of their service, it's going to another service. So they literally cannot give you the download because the other service,
then they're taken from the other service. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the problem. If they're going out of business, whatever. I can still argue too, because I'm sure the other services will bid on, their license or whatever you call it, the license and whatever to have the movies and all that. So I'm sure that the same thing would happen even if they're going out of business, but I can kind of see that a little more. But yeah, if they're losing the rights to it, there's no way they're gonna do that.
That's BS. That's BS.
Yeah, I know. But like, if it's like, if you cannot, let's say there is no service in the world that has this particular movie that you want, you should be legally able to download that movie from anywhere you want. Because if you can't get to it,
I feel that way for sure. Yeah. That's the reason I used to play Silent Hill Enhanced Edition, Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition, and they don't, on their website, they don't give you a copy of the game because that would be illegal. But you can download copies of the game, and then you run their program on top of it to do the Enhanced Edition.
Right. And so basically they use the assets from the game, and they just have their little, I guess, starter to start the game.
And I have never felt bad about that, because that company,
you still have a copy of it.
They are never going to sell another copy of that game. Well, they came out with a remake of it, but so that's the thing. I personally, now you do what you want. I'm not here preaching to anybody. I personally would not download Silent Hill 2 because it's a brand new game. It was made by a team that I respect. Like, I don't want to take away from them. I want the game to be successful. I want them to make more Silent Hills remakes. I want Bloober team to go on to make other stuff. And I would feel guilty about downloading that game. Again, do what you want. I'm not telling anybody to do anything otherwise. I have definitely pirated a lot of games in my lifetime. It's just none of them were recently. I did it when I was younger. But
when it was easier.
Downloading Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition, or downloading Silent Hill 2, the original game, can't buy that anywhere. Like, unless I go to a hype beast PlayStation store that they're selling old PlayStation games for $200, I could buy it that way, but I can't buy it any other way. The same with Metal Gear, the same with, all these games that they could possibly be remade and sometime soon, but I 100% don't feel bad about downloading any of those and running them on an emulator. Because it's not available any other way. Otherwise, if people didn't do that, these games would be lost to oblivion forever. Because even the discs, even if you own a copy of Silent Hill 2, the original PlayStation 2 disc, it degrades. These discs don't last forever.
They could last anywhere between 10 to 50 years. Who knows? It depends on the quality of where you're keeping them and all that stuff. That's why I back up all my discs. Like, any disc I ever had, I always keep a backup on my server, so I have it and I can just make a new disc if I had to.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong
games
with
that don't have that's just old games that don't have the DRM. The new games, I don't even know how you do new games, to be honest, do that with them. But
I don't know. So that is a problem too, is that I think that we're not really experiencing the true loss of media yet, because we're of an age where a lot of the things that are nostalgic to you and I were on physical media, and they didn't have DRM, and they were ripped and uploaded to the internet. And we're now getting to the cycle of the games that we played not long after that they had DRM, they required a service connection, and there's going to be a time where, unless that company sunset it in such a way that someone was able to pick it up and continue it, it could be lost forever. And so for that reason, I think that this is an important thing to think about. I think it's,
especially for the future. Now and going forward, definitely.
Yeah. It's It's wild.
Especially for games. Yeah, because like movies and TV shows, they can still take a HDMI, the thing you put in between the HDMI to
Oh yeah, you can
be able
still
to record.
you could watch it and record it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could do that for movies all day long, but for a game, that's not viable. You have to break the DRM or somehow get around it.
Yeah, it's funny. I looked into this kind of thinking this was going to be a short topic, and then it's more important to me than I realized it was. The more we talk about it,
yeah, me too. Like this is like of the utmost importance, to be honest.
I think that the way that some people save, we need to get into the emulation space a little bit more. We always say that, and then I don't. You do more than I do, but
yeah, I've tapped into it a couple of times, but like I never really dove in to the point where I have like every single game I've ever owned for my, on an emulator and all that crap. Like I have my Steam Deck and I installed EmuDeck and all that stuff. And I played a couple of my games, but I never really got into it like super hard.
I don't see myself ever having the need for like, I'm going to ever want to go back and play an old game and I can't get access to it. And so I want a server in my house where I have it all so that I can show it to my kid one day. I don't necessarily think that that's where I'm at, but I do think that it's important that there is a community of enthusiasts that are recognizing that these games need to be encapsulated and preserved. Yeah. Yep. And so for that reason, I kind of want to get more involved in that community just to sort of promote it and make sure that and I wonder what's going to come in with future games. How are they going to preserve?
I don't know, man. Like
what happens to Fortnite whenever they stop selling skins? I'm like, how are they? Like, someone going to save a copy of Fortnite somewhere? There's going to be, there's got to be Fortnite fan servers. That's got to be a thing that's going to exist 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I'm surprised there isn't any now, to be honest.
There might be. I don't know. I'm curious about that. Is there a Fortnite Fortnite private server? I've never played Fortnite.
49 nights.
Fortnights at Freddy's. What is that?
Fortnights at Freddy's. That's great. I love that.
There are some results for Fortnite private server. So I guess it is. Relive the OG Fortnite. There's an OG Fortnite? Man, God, I'm old. Yeah, I found one.
Dude, you know how fast World of Warcraft and those games changed? Can you imagine how fast these games must change?
I know, because
they must change on the weekly.
Yeah.
Gotta have the new thing. Gotta improve. Up and to the right. Up and to the right.
That was a really interesting conversation. Let me tell you about my project I'm working on, and then we'll close this thing out. Yeah. I'll make it quick. So I am working on a card game, both physical and digital.
Ah, okay.
So while I was in, we haven't done a show in a while because I had to travel for work, and then I traveled for vacation, and then you traveled for vacation. Yeah. Everything got screwed up.
The whole thing.
But while I was traveling for work, I began learning Godot, making card games, and basically just how to like drag cards, draw a hand, stack cards, define where cards can be placed and where they can't be placed, that sort of thing. And then and I was doing all that just by following a tutorial, and I'll put the tutorial in the show notes. But it was a great tutorial. I'll put it in the show notes. And as I talk about the game more, I'll definitely credit the person that made that tutorial, because I watched all of their videos, and that's basically how I learned how to do all this. But then on vacation, I took my laptop and I installed the trial of Copilot.
Okay.
And I installed the add-on for GD script in VS Code, so that way I could use Copilot to write VS Code or write GD script for Godot. And I began writing my card game in Godot using Autopilot, but also I was using ChatGPT to define the
refine
rules. Yeah, to refine it and to define the rules of the game.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I got into an interesting situation where I wanted the two to talk to each other, but yet they're not connected.
No,
so
right.
I actually told ChatGPT, I said, I have a project in Godot making a card game, and I've also been working with you on the rules for this card game. But yet my autopilot is not aware of the rules that you and I have made. And you're not aware of the coding I've done in autopilot. And so I said, ChatGPT, give me a prompt that I can give to autopilot that will allow him to provide you what you need to understand what I've done in autopilot. And it did.
That's amazing.
It gave me a prompt and it basically said, copy and paste this in the autopilot. And I copy and pasted it in the autopilot. And then autopilot wrote like a 1-pager to give back to ChatGPT. And I gave it, and then ChatGPT knew what was going on. It was like, I got them talking to each other, man. I got a community over here. It takes a village of AI.
It takes a village of AI. That's amazing. I love that. That's hilarious.
But the card game is really cool. So I've actually made I made physical copies of the cards and printed them out. And nice. I've been like doing like test plays, like, you know, on my kitchen table. And and I'm also working digitally in Godot. But I'm at the point now where I really need to understand how the game works to know how to continue the digital development. But my goal is to make both. My ultimate goal, my main goal, is to finish the digital card game, not the physical card game. But I feel like it would be a good companion to have with the digital card game if it was like a print and play card. You could print out the cards and play physically also. And then based on the stop killing games, my minimum viable product will be if I ever sunset on the game, well, you got the physical cards, you know, you can download those and play them at your kitchen table.
That's hilarious.
But it's a card game. It's a dungeon crawler. It's a solo dungeon crawl. And it's got like a grim dark fantasy vibe. I'm also doing the card art for the cards. I want to draw all those. I want to do it all myself. I may do a combination of AI and hand drawn. What I might do is like AI the backdrops and then draw the rest of the art. Or I may not even do that. I may just do all. I'm either going to do partial AI or no AI. I'm not gonna do all the art AI. I want to. The whole reason I wanted to do a card game was because I've always talked about how I wanted to draw more, and this would be an opportunity to draw more. But right now, I'm so deep in the coding, it's hard for me to.
Like you being an artist, I understand that like you have the ability to do that. Me, on the other hand, I'd have to totally rely on AI to do everything.
But it's the time. It's the time, though. It's the time. It's
you're
even
not
doing
wrong.
one card is going to take a long time, and I need to do like 100 cards. You know. So I may just have to like simplify the art, like keep it simple.
That's what I was gonna say. Make it super basic. Just like rattle off 100 cards, super basic, and get the game going. Then you can revise. Yeah.
So the way the game works,
early access, baby, early access.
That's right. The way the game works is it has a day phase and a night phase. I don't have a title for this yet, by the way. I don't have a title for the game.
Okay.
I have a working title, but it's not going to be this. The working title is ShadowLight. But it's too similar to another game called Shadow Dark, which is like a RPG, like a tabletop RPG. It's too similar.
Okay. I agree.
So that's not going to be the title. I don't know what the title will be yet, but something to play on light and dark, because the game is set. You have a day phase and a night phase, and during the day phase, you spend hours to play cards, and when you play cards, you're preparing for the night phase. So you're buying equipment that you're going to put on your character. You're buying potions or stuff you're going to need, you know, for the night phase. And then when you run out of hours in the day, then it switches to the night phase, which is when the encounter deck gets to draw cards. And whenever you might draw like a giant spider or something, you know, and you have to fight that thing, or and then your life in the game is your memories. So there's 3 decks involved in this. You have a a hero deck, an encounter deck, and a memory deck. And your memory deck will be part of your hero. So it'll be tailored towards, right now, I'm only doing one hero and one encounter, but after the game is working and I kind of know what I'm doing, maybe I could make another encounter that you could run with the same hero, or other heroes that you could use for the same encounter. You know, I could expand on it.
Right. Yep.
But the memory deck is your life total. So if your hero has 12 life, it has 12 cards in its memory deck. And every time you lose a life, you reveal a memory card. Well, that memory card will have some sort of effect. It'll say, you know, something like you can't draw a card until you spend 2 light or something like that. I don't know. But it also will try to be thematic, where it has something to do with the history of your hero. All this is just in card text. It's not, you know, I'm not going to have cinematics or anything like that. I think it's a pretty cool concept. And so during the day you spend hours, and at night you spend light. And so certain things will happen if you have a room lit or unlit. So like you might reveal something from the encounter deck, and it'll say lose 2 memory if this room is not lit or something like that.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right. Almost like you have like a torch and it's got limited time, basically.
Exactly.
Exactly. I get the concept. And then once it's out, you have to go to sleep per se or whatever, and then wake up in the morning. I get it. Okay. And
the way I play this physically is you have a D8 for hours and you have a D6 for light. And during the day phase, any hours that you don't spend gets converted into light at the night phase. Okay. But you only have a D6. You can't go above 6. And so you're encouraged to always spend like at least those 2 or 3 hours so that you don't lose, you know, any potential light. Yeah. So yeah, that's the concept. I got a lot more to do, and I want to make videos specifically about it.
That sounds pretty cool.
But it's crazy.
I like the day night thing. That's unique.
Yeah. So that was actually me and my son my son was like playing with my Magic cards, and we started kind of making up our own game because he doesn't understand like how Magic works. And he came up with the idea of like the day and the night thing. And so that's kind of where all this started. And I started talking to ChatGPT immediately, like, hey, I got an idea for this game. And I was worried that ChatGPT would give me rules that were like similar to other games. But I've been stressing to ChatGPT, is this similar to this other game? Like there's a few mechanics that are similar. But I think there's some inevitability that some things will be similar.
Yes,
but
there has to be inevitabilities. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm working really hard to like test. I mean, obviously, I've not played every game out there. There definitely could be games that are similar, and I wouldn't know because ChatGPT gave it to me, you know. But I'm really working hard to try to avoid those, you know, in my prompts. I'm trying to make sure, and also I'm playing the game physically, which is kind of helping me make up rules because like playing it physically, I feel like things work and things don't work, and so I'll figure out how.
Not only does the problem with the coded version of it is the code has to also work, but in the real version you can like get to a point of the mechanics of the game, like they always work. They're always going to work up to a point, and then it's going to be like, okay, so this doesn't work because in this scenario you can't use this for that. Basically, I totally get that, and I like that way of debugging.
Yeah,
the
I got a long way to go on the digital version. I'm basically just dragging cards around and placing them. Like I don't have any of the. I don't even know.
Half the battle is getting all the systems up and all that stuff. You know, like actually getting the rules and.
I feel like once I get so far, I feel like it'll build off of itself. You know what I mean? Like
right. Yep.
Once I get like 1 or 2 cards to work, then I'll know how to make the other cards work. And so I can build upon that. And then once I have a working game, it should be easy to then just like make new decks for the game. You know?
Yep.
I don't know. But as far as the physical game, I'm almost ready to start like drawing cards and start drawing artwork and stuff. Like I think if I were only doing physical, I could get it done pretty quick. I think speaking with ChatGPT has saved like a ton of development time on the physical card game version.
Right.
Autopilot is nice, but it's like you wouldn't get, I don't know. So far, I'm not getting anything from Autopilot that I wouldn't get. It saves me time, but it's just saving me time from having to like look up and find things that I would have found on my own. You know what I mean? Like I don't know that.
Yeah, I like using AI to be more of like a Google substitute because Google sucks anymore, and it's so hard to.
I never use Google
pretty
anymore.
much all search engines suck anymore. You can't find crap.
I had a hilarious bit. Oh my gosh, we're going too long. We need to end this show pretty soon. I thought of a bit. It's so funny that you mentioned Google. Bing is so awful at doing searches, right? You look something up on Bing and it like gives you like something that's like similar. Like you're like, I'm writing a report on George Washington, Washington. And then Bing gives you like top 10 businesses on Washington Road, Augusta, Georgia. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's not what I was looking for at all. I thought of like a Key and Peele bit, or like if I was writing skits for like a TV show.
Yeah.
The guy that like loves Bing, like the guy that like, that's what he was looking for. The guy that sits down at the computer and is like, I'm trying to find the best restaurants on Washington Road, Augusta, Georgia. And he sits down and he types George Washington into the Bing search. And then he's like, oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. Like the guy that Bing is like perfect for. That's a good potential skit. All right. Let's get off of here. I think this was a fun episode. So stop killing games, people. Just stop.
Seriously.
Just stop.
Release them all open source and be done with it. Come on.
Yeah, they should just all be open source. I think we had a really good and compelling conversation about that topic. I don't know that we truly came up with any solutions, except for I'm curious to see if anything ever comes out of this. And yeah, as far as I am really interested in the media thing. If anybody out there listening knows of a service that you legitimately pay for media and you legitimately get that media where you can download it and keep it yourself, instead of, there was like, whenever DVDs first started doing digital versions, they would be like 100 different, like you'd buy one DVD and you'd have to go to one service, and you buy another DVD and you go to some other service. I want something that's got like, it's like Amazon. I just look up a movie, I buy it, I get a digital copy of it, I can stream it, I can download it, all on the up and up. Otherwise, I'm just gonna sign up to my brother-in-law's torrent farm and get movies that way. All right, well, thanks for listening. Peace.
See ya.